welcome to this week's Copperberg TV. This week I had the fantastic opportunity to sit down with the editorial director, Goran Svetanovsky. He's in charge of the Manufacturing Pricing Excellence event. We discussed a little bit what the platform has brought to us so far and also what he has in store for us in May in Barcelona. So stay tuned and see our interview. Goran Svetanovsky, welcome. You're the editorial director of the Manufacturing Pricing Excellence. I'm very glad to have you here today with me. My question today is, can you walk me through this last 2 years or 3 years of the Manufacturing Pricing Excellence Conference? I know it's been developing very fast.
So pricing as itself, as a function, actually have existed only around 8 years, I would say. There are some organizations that have been working on pricing for almost 15, 25 years, but they were basically around, like, should we say, less than 2% of the overall global companies. Pricing by itself, it's one of the 4 P's in marketing. And it was always an important part, but it was always done by different functions. So it was under marketing, or the salespeople are creating the prices by themselves, or the financial department is going through the different prices and the pricing sheets. But it was never a standalone function. Only when the economic crisis came in 2008, organizations realized that if they can adjust the prices with only 1%, they can actually increase around 11% in profitability. This is statistic that is coming from Gartner. In addition to this, Warren Buffett also said, if you want to measure an organization and how is it going, right? How is it performing? You need to look only on one thing, and that is the ability of pricing power, the pricing power by itself. And this, by Simon and Kucher, is explained as the ability for the organization to get the price for the product, for the value it delivers to the customer, right? This was actually the start for us. When we started in 2013, it was considered that there are around like 15,000 pricing professionals, but there was no titles, there were no functions dedicated to this. There were some, of course, but it was it was like islands. In 2013, when we organized the first conference, what we wanted to do is basically show that there is a way to emerge this function from a back office support function to a highly value-driven function within the organization. Maybe not a chief pricing officer, that I'm quite sure that we will have more and more in the upcoming years, but a function that is standalone, that is process-driven, that is central-driven, and that can actually enable organization to get to the point that they want to, and that is through the price to the profitability. So 2013 we were focusing on the basics of pricing excellence, so the maturity level, how to assess where you are at this point, the pricing excellence step by step by looking at the strategies, but not only in the strategies, we were looking at the organizations, we were looking at the processes, we were looking at organizational setup, and we were looking at the tools as well needed to support the vision and support the process itself. It was a great success. It was in Copenhagen that year. And then we had the second annual, it was in Amsterdam. Many of our delegates know that we tend to locate the conferences depending on where they want to go. We are a highly delegate-driven organization, delegate network, delegate community-driven organization. And in 2014, for me, I was very glad to see that the maturity have grown so much. And this was obvious by looking at not only the level and the titles of the organizations and the number of organizations attending, but also on the topics that were discussed. So in 2014, in Amsterdam, we were discussing more about not only how to move from cost plus to value-based pricing, but also we were looking at optimization. The first time when the pricing analytics or analytic-based pricing optimization came in, we were talking a lot about transformation. We were talking about change management, the link between sales and pricing, and as well how pricing should be set up. right? Price setting and price getting, of course, it was mentioned throughout the whole event, and I believe that was the breaking point that made not only the event grow but also the pricing professional to grow, because everybody realized that we are, as organizations, global organizations, we are moving to a customer-centric organization, where a customer perceives the value that he wants to pay. So this year we're coming back in 2015. This year we're in Barcelona. And the topics that we're going to be discussing is not only, okay, let's presume that we have, that your organization or our organization have adopted value-based pricing. Many of our delegates, when I was doing research, they're saying we have done this. But the problem is, how do we get the return of investment of our pricing initiatives? How do we get the return of investment where we are moving to value-based pricing? Many organizations are struggling to be transparent and communicate why they are doing this. There were some industrial equipment companies that were saying that we approach customers with value-based pricing, but then on the end the customer buys on cost-plus pricing because we are failing to explain the value of it, right? So this year it's all about the value, the return of investment of pricing. So we're going to be looking at monitoring and developing short and long-term pricing KPIs. We're going to be speaking about innovation in pricing, which actually it's a very good topic, and it shows that the maturity has grown even more. So there are presenters and organizations that are working on creating experiments within the pricing, so they can find actually these small pillars that they can adjust in order to increase the profit margins and the profitabilities. We are talking about e-commerce. We are talking about multi-channel strategies. We are talking about segmentation. We are talking about gathering data in pricing. And of course, we are talking about the tools. But nevertheless, change management is still the way forward. And one of the biggest actually things that we are doing this year, it's a studio bringing CXO. So we are talking about CEO, CMO, CSO, so Chief Sales Officer or Sales Director, or in finance, to present completely non-biased, where do they think pricing function should be? Should be standalone? Should we have a chief pricing officer? Or should it be under marketing, commercial department, finance, sales, and etc.? These are very important issues that needs to be discussed. So I'm looking forward to the discussions this year. I truly believe it's going to be one of the best events so far.
Thank you. I will see you in Barcelona. Thank you, Goran.